All righty. Thank you to everyone who's joining, who's going to be joining me, or I should say, watching this webinar video that we put together. So, for those joining on, whether it's advisors, anyone involved with the Athlon OSJ, one of the things we like to do is kind of shed a highlight, if you will, on the different groups and organizations that we like to partner with and how they can provide value to you in your practice. So, my inaugural guest, I should say, on this exercise is none other than Darren Dowdy, who is the Director of Group Retirement Plans with Retirement Plan Advisors. Darren, welcome, my friend. Happy to have you joining me today.
I am happy to be here, Colt.
So, all right, Darren. So let's get started. So I know you and I have talked before. I met your colleague Ken originally at the Cambridge Retirement Plan Summit in Boise this year, and kind of uncovered you all as kind of like this nice kept secret with Cambridge. And so my understanding is that with RPA, Retirement Plan Advisors, RPA, I should say, it's an enterprise group just like Athlon. But that being said, you guys have a pretty unique arrangement with Cambridge through that kind of joint venture. So give me a little bit more insight. Like explain that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, Colt. RPA joined Cambridge in March of 2000 as an enterprise group of about a dozen advisors, but one that had deep experience in a lesser known space, public sector retirement plans. 2 decades later, we found ourselves advising over 550 local government clients on about $5.5 billion in assets. Cambridge recognized this unique niche that we operate in and saw enough value in our future growth to purchase 20% of retirement plan advisors. That arrangement uniquely allows us to share compensation with any FP in Cambridge Nation who's willing to partner with us.
Damn, okay, that's pretty good. So what exactly? So okay, that makes sense. That sounds like a very unique kind of arrangement I've never really seen personally with Cambridge with these groups. That's pretty awesome that Cambridge kind of recognized the expertise that you all have and advertising that to the advisors. But give me a little bit more specifics. Like, what does that partnership actually look like?
Absolutely. Colt, it can take several forms, right? We monitor the release of public sector RFPs all over the country, cities, counties, utility authorities, transportation authorities, park districts, more entity types than you can imagine. When we spot one that's in our wheelhouse and we decide to participate in a competitive bid process, we often seek out a Cambridge advisor in that entity's local community, believing that a local advisor's involvement in our response and frankly in the ongoing relationship if we win allows us a better chance to not only win the deal but to keep the client for a long time.
Right.
The second way, and frankly the more popular way to partner, is when FPs in the field consider who in their sphere may be employed by one of these local entities or may have direct or indirect contact with a decision maker at a public entity. Many FPs already have clients, spouses of clients, neighbors, or friends who are retired public safety, who sit on city council, who work in HR at the county. They may manage their personal assets already, even, but they've likely never asked about their workplace retirement plan. Probably because they're in the public sector, they assume that that's probably untouchable and handled by a really large organization somewhere that puts it out of reach.
Yeah. I mean, that was literally like as you were saying it, that was my thought. I was like, I didn't even know I could touch those. Like it was always like I was familiar with in our space. You could work with 401ks in private sector. You could do the whole self-directed stuff and like self-directed brokerage accounts, but never the public sector. So and similar vein to that, like so I guess that's the thing, like with these public sector, okay, yes, it sounds like we can access them, but like I mean, don't most of these I guess like companies or individuals for that matter get a pension from their employer? I mean, like that seems like something that again is out of the scope of kind of what we can do on the advisory side.
That's a great observation, and it's absolutely accurate. Um, what you will discover through partnering with us is that the majority of these entities around the country, and we're talking 90,000, 100,000 different entities here, the majority of them will have sitting directly next to their DB or pension structure a employee driven voluntary defined contribution structure where they can make additional contributions. Now, additionally, I think we all know that both in the private sector and often in the public sector, a lot of pensions have been frozen over the past 20 years. And what will often happen is there will be a replacement put in place for these people. Often that is referred to as a 401A plan, and that typically houses some type of employer contribution that
Right.
would be in place instead of a pension arrangement. And then there will probably be a bucket next to it that the employee can contribute to, and that would be a 457B
Oh,
plan
okay, gotcha.
typically. So you've seen the rise of these other IRS tax codes as pensions have continued to become a little more obsolete, even in the public sector.
Right.
So we do advise on DB plans as well. Make no mistake, we're also in
Right.
that business. But the vast majority of those 500 plus client relationships are of the defined contribution nature, which makes them a lot more like 401ks.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay, so it makes them a bit more like 401ks, but talk about the prospecting a little bit. So, like, how does this differ from prospecting usually in that like traditional 401k or like private sector kind of marketplace?
Yeah, that's another great question. It differs in some really important ways. First, it's important to know that there's only a few vendors that really record keep these plans. It's names you know, it's Empower, it's Voya, it's Nationwide. To a lesser degree, it's Lincoln or Corebridge, but far less than the private marketplace. So I think it's much less competitive, right? Let's start with the fact that you don't have 50 different wholesalers out there representing these brands,
Right.
knocking on doors to try to get you to solicit these plans. So
Right.
that's a start. This market's major obstacle is inertia. Jokes about the speed of government can certainly
Yeah.
apply in this market,
Right.
but it also means that a lot of plans are outdated, they're overly expensive, and they
Mhm.
are badly in need of benchmarking.
Mhm.
A wave of modernizations swept through the 401k market a long time ago, right? And
Mhm.
it's become a race to the bottom, fees have compressed, et cetera.
Right.
The public sector market is well behind, meaning that together in partnership with FPs in the field at Athlon and otherwise, we can often do it better
Mhm.
and cheaper for the plan sponsor.
Damn, it's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. And I mean, you kind of nailed it. That doesn't surprise me that something government related is light years behind the private side. What else is there, right? So, not a shocker there. So, all right. So we talked about one, it's possible. Two, we kind of talked about the what's and what you guys can do. So, talk to me about the compensation a little bit. So, if an advisor, you know, advisor decides, hey, they want to kind of get this access and they want to use you all. How's that compensation shared between RPA and advisors, whether it's advisors in our OSJ at Athlon or even just like Cambridge advisors for that matter?
Absolutely. Yeah. So RPA, Retirement Plan Advisors, is going to earn an ongoing, contractually agreed to fee for
Mhm.
our service at the plan level.
Okay.
We are going to act in either a 321 or more likely a 338 fiduciary capacity. We're going to provide them with or amend an existing investment policy statement. We're going to negotiate their fees with the record keeper. We're going to take them out to bid if they need a change in record keeper. We're going to consider consolidating multiple providers to take advantage of economies of scale, the fee benefits. We're going to modernize the investment menu, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
An FP who partners with us to be a local representative of the administration of the plan, so to speak,
Right.
is going to get paid literally a portion of what we get paid. We
Mhm.
are literally going to segment out a portion of what we get every quarter, send it to Cambridge to pay it through your typical FP code at your typical grid. That's going to happen quarterly, and it's going to happen for the length of the contract. The initial contract term on these is usually 3 to 5 years,
Mhm.
and there's usually optionality for them to renew you for an extra year
Okay.
or an extra year and then another year
Mhm.
without having to go back out to bid. So this can be really sticky business. It can be among the stickiest business in your books. Uh, as you can imagine, an FP is going to get a bigger cut for introducing RPA to one of your relationships
Right.
than from us recruiting you into the relationship. So there
Right.
is that in play.
Sure.
And additionally, to maximize that fee, the advisor can choose to do more. I think about the fact that if you and I want to plan together and it was 2 hours away from you,
Mhm.
how often can you be there in the course of a year? Four
Mhm.
times, maybe?
Right.
If you and I want a plan that was 10 minutes away from you, how often can you be there? right?
Definitely. Yeah.
If you're going to be employee benefit fairs, you're going to be able to do all, you're going to be able to say yes to a lot of these things. You're
Right.
going to get a bigger slice, so to speak, by agreeing to handling a bigger part of the service menu, because it means we don't have to fly people in to do it, from our home office in Chicago.
Right.
And lastly, just like 401ks, the real money is potentially made for the FP on all the ancillary business,
Right.
right? You all of a sudden become a warm lead, so to speak, for all of those people in the entity, whether it's in administration and part of the investment committee for the plan, perhaps,
Right.
or just the standard, 9 to 5ers that work for the entity that need financial planning. So you're going to have the same opportunity to sell your wealth management practice and capabilities with that group. And by the way, we don't take any of that, right? This is about us paying you a portion of the fee that we're already going to earn
Sure.
for being there, representing what we do, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to take a slice of what you do every day with these people.
Gotcha. No, that's awesome. So I mean, so basically, it sounds like advisor makes the introduction, RPA kind of handles the rest on that side. Doesn't interfere with the advisor's personal side of it, and the advisor's getting paid on it. That's
I tell people we're contractually bound by a fee. If you roll a bunch of participants out tomorrow, that's your business.
Right.
If it's appropriate for the client, it doesn't change anything on our comp. Perhaps get a rollover in a long-term client of your own book. So there's no conflict there, so to speak.
Right. Okay. No, that's pretty sweet. I do like that a lot. Like, I'm glad you guys have that figured out. And so it kind of, it's funny, like, it always gets to this part, right? Like, a lot of the advisors, they already got their shtick, they already know what they're doing, and they have kind of their wheelhouse, their niche they're working with. And anytime like something like this comes along, it all sounds great, right? But it's like, how exactly can they do this? Like, why ask the advisor to learn a whole new story and learn a whole new area of in the financial services market? So how can you all kind of help out with that?
Great question. It's really well informed because, Colt, the vast majority of our best relationships in the 2 years since we launched this joint venture are coming from people that we met at Circle of Excellence, at Signature Club and Premier, and these reward level meetings where everyone around you is running a successful financial practice, or
Right.
they wouldn't be there,
Right.
right? So let me be clear about something. We're here to help the FP make money in a market segment that they likely haven't explored. It
Right.
probably doesn't cross their own business day to day, right? So I think they can work in a silo outside of what they do every day.
Right.
We have some advisors that choose to simply introduce us to a contact and then walk away.
Right.
I have had many engagements with advisors where they will send an email to me and to their contact, and that's the last thing they hear until I call to tell them we won the deal.
Yep. Like, great job.
They are
List
welcome to do that. As you can
Right.
imagine, they're going to get a smaller ongoing cut than if they
Sure.
were working in an ongoing fashion,
Yeah.
but it's virtually free money from where they sit, right?
Right.
So they can do as little or as much as they want, and they're being paid regularly for making that introduction for the length of the contract and any renewals that occur. Now, on the flip side, we have an advisor, a longtime Cambridge advisor in Colorado, with whom we won a $40 million plan with a local water sewer authority, right? He is paid $20,000 a year to spend a few days at the entity, signing people up, doing an occasional employee benefit fair, et cetera, and also keeping 100% of every dollar that he makes by selling his ancillary services to the people at the entity, right? So there's no such thing as typical. You can choose to play a different role on every plan that you have. Like I said, if one plan's next door and one plan's 2 hours away,
Right.
you might choose your service menu a little differently for where your participation ends,
Right.
But there's no such thing as pulling Ken and I into a conversation with a contact too early, all right? The earlier we come in, the less the FP needs to know, right? There may be situations where I give the FP a prospecting question or two to start the conversation, but that can really be the end of it if that's all the FP wants to do.
Right.
It really can be that simple.
That's awesome. So, well, it sounds like, okay. Well, it sounds like in all that, we got the why of RPA. How you all came about. We have the how you do the business. You have the what's involved in there. I mean, I think that pretty much kind of wraps up all the questions I would really have had. Like, any other closing thoughts? Anything else you think you'd want to fill in or add that we didn't really already touch on? Like I said, it's been great.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. When I speak to these groups at the Cambridge meetings, I always close by reminding our resume and your Rolodex, right? Your FPs, they know these people, but they likely haven't ever taken this approach with them.
Right.
Our resume includes entities like the Chicago Transit Authority, right? So every time you've ridden the L when you're in
Oh,
Chicago,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
one of our largest
Oh,
entities.
that's cool. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, Nashville Airport. You ever flying in on
Yeah,
Nashville? All
I
those
would for
airport
sure. Yeah.
employees
Nice.
are in our plan. New Orleans Convention Center, Alameda County, California, where Oakland's located. That's, I think, our single biggest plan.
Okay.
So, we've got an impressive resume, but the fact is our average plan is under $10 million, right? We're built to help all of them, from the largest entity that I just named to the smallest fire protection district in mid-Missouri, large cities, wealthy counties, all the way down to your local EMS.
Gotcha.
Right. So I think it's a great opportunity to at least have a discussion, right? And we can figure out from there whether there are some trees that we can shake.
Awesome. No, that sounds good, Darren. So again, everyone, I think that'll wrap it up for us. So, for those watching, you can reach Darren as well as his partner Ken Mergen is the president of RPA. They can be reached at sales@retirementplanadvisors.com. I'll make sure to include it in the kind of follow up here. But Darren, thank you again for all your time, man. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we can see how advisors at Athlon can start to work with you guys.
Love it, Colt. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yep. Take care.
All right, take care.